So continuing from where we stopped, remember we did our dart. This is a part two. I didn't want the video to be too long, and I'll try to keep this short, but I just want to make sure that everybody you understand what we're doing here. So the last time drew the outer line of the shoulder dart. We measured our dart. That's 9 cm from here, this point, 9 cm from this point to this point, and then we connected it to the 2 cm line point, 2 cm point below the bust line. All right, okay. So that's what we did here. And it says measure the dart size, as we've done that, 2 cm below the bust line, which we connected it. Then there is some explanation going around here. Now it says complete the shoulder seam by measuring from the NP, that's the neck point, right? The shoulder length of 12.5 centimeters. The shoulder length you'll be measuring from here is just a measurement, is a standard measurement for everyone. So you'll be measuring a shoulder length of 12.5 centimeters plus your dart depth of 9 cm in this case. So 12.5 centimeters is a measurement, is a standard measurement given, 12.5 centimeters, then plus our dart size, 9 cm, plus 9 cm. So we have 21.5 centimeters. So what we'll be doing from here now is from the neck point, that's the NP. Let me use a tape so that you can see it clearly. From the neck point here now, we'll be measuring 21.5 centimeters, okay, to finish up our shoulder, right? So this is 21.5 cm. You know, I told you we finished our line up at 22. So these are 21.5 cm now. So from that point to this point, okay, I'll just take the point again so that we can clearly see it. 21.5 cm. So now on the line itself, okay, this is it now. 21.5 cm. So that is our complete shoulder measurement. So a measurement of 12.5 cm, which is the standard for everybody, plus 9 cm dart, making 21.5 cm. That's our complete shoulder line. All right. And we'll mark this point now, SP. This is our shoulder point now. So shoulder point is where the 21.5 cm stop. So this is our shoulder point, SP, okay? On the chest line, from the center front, measure half chest width, which is 19 centimeters. In our own case here, half chest width is 20.5 centimeters. So now on the chest line, because remember we had this point, so we need to connect this line to a straight line. Okay, remember when we did on the part one, from the part one, you see this. So this is our chest line now. Okay, on this chest line, we'll be measuring half chest, which is 20.5 cm in our case. It says measure the half chest, missing out the dart. So our dart here is 2.2 centimeters. Okay, so when we are measuring our 20.5 half chest measurement, we're going to be missing out this. So basically what I do is I tell my students, measure the dart distance. This is 2.2 cm. So this 2.2 cm, 2 cm plus 20.5. So this gives us the total measurement we'll be measuring here. So in this case now, is 22.7. So that's, I'll just do 22.5 really. If you can count the 0.7, please count it. Yeah, but on the tape measure it's easier. On the measuring tape, it's easier to count 22.7. So these are 22.7 because it says measure half chest, missing out the dart. So if we are to measure it now, to check this measurement now, missing out this dart, we measure from this point. This is the inner line of the dart. We don't measure there. And this is the outer line of the dart. So basically our dart is from this point to this point. So every other measurement comes before, the measurement from the center front comes before the inner dart line. Okay, so now we measure from here, which is 11 centimeters, okay? And then we bring the 11 centimeters, from 11 centimeters, right, we measure further to the front. So this gives us our 20. This now gives us our 20.5 centimeters. Okay, so that's it. So that is how to measure it. Okay, so this measurement now shows we've missed out our dart line. So sorry, 10.5 centimeters here. From the 10.5 centimeters, you take your measuring tape again and you finish it up at this point. Okay, so that's the measurement missing out the dart size. And if you want to measure it straight again, this is everything missing out the dart measurement. So is either you measure from this point down, okay, and then you take it from that point and you measure continuous like that to your 20.5. Okay, so that's that measurement for the chest line. And then it says so in the book also says missing out the dart line and mark a chest point. This is now our chest point, CHP, chest point. So I'm cleaning out every other line here. So this is now our chest point, CHP. Okay, actually let's put it above because I'll still use this point. I'll still roll further down. So this is our chest point now, CHP. Okay, that's our chest point. Now it says the length CF to CHP is 19 centimeters in the case of the measurement used in the book. In our case here is 20.5 centimeter plus whatever the dart measures at the level. In this example, 2 inches. So whatever your dart measures at the level. So this is your dart measurement at that level. So they say your your half chest plus whatever your dart measure at this level. That's the full length. That's what we just did. Okay. So rule a line between SP and chest point. So we're going to be ruling a line between shoulder point and chest point. That's why I moved the notation previously to the other side. So we're going to be ruling a line connecting these points together now. Chest point and shoulder point. So this is our line. We have connected our chest point to the shoulder point. Okay. And drop a short perpendicular line on the bust, a short perpendicular on the bust line as a guide for drawing the armhole. So because we're going to be dropping a short perpendicular line, we need to measure exactly the same thing from this point to this point and repeat it here. We had 22.7. So I'm just going to come back here and do 22.7, okay? Because we need a short perpendicular line. See? A lot of terminology from mathematics, right? So we are dropping down our short perpendicular line now. Let me measure this again. I think 22.7. Okay, that's it. 22.7. Okay, that's a short perpendicular line. And it says, so I'm still reading from here. This is what I just did now. Rule a line between SP and chest point. Drop a short perpendicular onto the bust line as a guide for drawing the armhole. We have dropped a short perpendicular to the bust line in preparation to do our armhole. Then it says measure the center front along the bust line, the bust width of the front, which is the difference between the total bust width of the pattern, that's half bust plus 5. So basically now, let me stop there. I will explain further. Our half bust here is 51 centimeters. So we are now trying to get the bust width for the front. So we have been advised to use here half bust. So our half bust plus 5 cm. Okay. What's our half bust? 51 centimeters. So 51 plus 5 cm, which equals to 56 centimeters, right? So measure from the center front along the bust line, the bust width of the front, which is the difference between the total bust width of the pattern. So the total bust width of the pattern is 56 centimeters. That's 51 plus 5, 56 centimeters. And the width, 23.5, already obtained from already obtained for the back along the bust line. So now to get the bust for the front, what they say is the total bust width of the pattern, which is calculated here. This is total bust width of the pattern. Bust width of the pattern, yeah, is 56 centimeters. That's 51, which is from our half bust plus a measurement of 5 centimeters. That 5 centimeters is standard for all sizes, but the half bust is whatever you have measured. And then whatever we have here at the back. So at the back now, remember we had our bust, when we drafted the back, we had our bust plus the underarm point. So we're going to be taking all that measurement. So our underarm point for the back was 6.5 cm, right? And then at that same back, our back width was 21.5 cm. So then for this back, we had the back with 21.5 cm plus the 6.5 cm of the underarm point. Okay, if I measure it again, 6.5 cm underarm point. So 21.5 plus 6.5 cm gives us 28. So that's what we have here at the back, right? So to get the bust width for the front now is our 56 minus this 28 from the back. Okay, so this gives us the value for the front. That's another 28 centimeters. Okay, so we are coming here measuring the bust width of 28 centimeters. In some cases it's different. This is just a different pattern. Okay, so these are 28 centimeters bust width. Okay, that's our 28 centimeters on the for the bust width there. Okay, so let's go back. So already obtained from the back along the bust line, mark the front underarm point. So now this is our front underarm point. This 28 centimeters here is our front underarm point. 56 minus 28 from the back gives us again 28 at the front. Okay, underarm point, that's it. And then we move on. So in this case, there are 23 at the back minus 27, 51 minus 27 gives us 27.5. Right, so okay. Yeah, 56. I'm just checking the calculation again. So that's fine. It now says draw the armhole curve, draw the armhole curving it 1 cm plus from the straight line SP to chest point and hollowing it out well in the lower part, the reverse of the back armhole. So now what we're now doing is the armhole, the back armhole, we hollowed it above. The front armhole, we are taking it inside. Okay, that's just what it means by the reverse of the front and the back armhole. So what we'll be doing now, it says we need to be the back armhole, we hollowed it in. The front armhole will be taking it the other way. So we need halfway through this point. So that's this point. And I said draw the armhole curve. Draw the armhole, curving it 1 cm plus from the straight line chest point, shoulder point to chest point. So we need to find the midpoint of this line. This is 15, and then the midpoint will be 7.5, right? Because it's 15. So we're going to take this point now up by 1 centimeters. Okay, you can do 1.5, but in this case 1 centimeter is fine because it's a 1 cm plus. So 1 centimeters, that's what we'll be doing. So hollowing it inward. So we're going to be connecting the curved line from this point to this point. So what I usually do is you take it this way. And you see, if you use your curve, you actually get the point. That's it. Can you see? Using the curve, just setting your curve properly, you get that point. Okay. And then take the curve through this curve through a point 1.5 centimeter from the angle. Now, in this point now, this is the angle, right? So we're trying to create a curve now for the back, right? So it says, only need to a well hollowing it out well in the lower part, the reverse of the back armhole. We've done this part now. Take the curve through a point 1.5 cm from the angle. This is our angle, okay? And we need to have a point of 1.5 cm, okay, from this angle. So how do we get it? The same way we've been calculating our angle coming from the back when we started drafting the pattern. You always just put your marking, your ruler there. I told you this ruler has an angle point. You connect it like that to make sure you are having your correct angle, and then you take it 1.5 cm on the angle, on the line from the angle. So this is 1.5 cm. So we're going to be hollowing our curve through this point, okay? Remember, our curve is coming from here. What we're trying to achieve basically is this. This is what we're trying to achieve. Okay, we've done the first part, right? Then we're coming back again and we're connecting it to this point. So we're going this way. Now, this is where you need to really set your armhole curve, because in most cases, right, it doesn't really align easily like that. So what I usually do, you see, I've just tried to maneuver the curve to show you that in most cases you can't get it at once. So what I usually do is from this point, I take the curve down, right? Then I come back and connect it. So now to connect it, we are hollowing it slightly at this point. Can you see? Slightly at that point. So we don't want it to go far too deep inwards. So in this case now, we connect it like this. Can you see the connection? Okay. That's the connection in this case now. So that's the bust. That's the armhole, not the bust. Now this is the armhole. It's called the bust line, but basically it's the depth of your armhole, right? Your bust line is coming later on. So in this case, sometimes you can actually just use your free hand as well, because what I'm seeing here, I don't really like the look of what I see here, right? So because for everyone it's different. Okay, so I'll just come again from this point. Let's see. Let's try this and see. Now I think the smaller one is better. You see that in this case, really, all you can do again is come with your free hand. It's not going to be very smooth, but at least it will connect, right? So this is another point. See, I think I prefer the one I did with the free hand, right? I prefer this one to the first one. Just come with your hand and do it, because we need a smaller curve at this point, but I have it, but I can't reach it now. So I think I prefer this. This looks better like an armhole, because we need a little bit of depth into it. Okay, so that's it there. So I just brought this so I can show you. You can see our 1 inch plus. These are here, from here to here is 1.5, and then we curved it in. So look at the shape of the armhole. All right, so we are going back to our instructions. So then the armhole dips slightly below the bust line before reaching the under point. That's the slightly depth before reaching the under point. So it's dipping slightly here before reaching the under arm point. Okay, on the hip line, mark quarter hip measurement plus 3 centimeters. I said when we're drafting the back, you can ignore the 3 centimeters, because whatever you're doing should be, if you're doing something free, then put the 3 centimeters. If you want it fitted all on your body, please ignore the 3 centimeters. So our quarter hip is 29.5 centimeters. So we'll be coming to 29.5 here, 29.5 of the quarter hip. So at this point, it says now, yeah, plus 3 centimeters or 2.5. In some cases, it may slightly be more. In figure 3 points, in figure 3, hip touch, but not necessarily essential. It's telling you here the hip touch each other, but it's not essential. Because if you remember from here, when we started drafting the front, it tells you to have some space between the front and the back. So this pattern actually shows that we have enough space, but the hip can touch, but they can't overlap. They can touch at the same point, but they shouldn't overlap into each other. Okay, So now this is our hip point, 29.5, and then we are going ahead. It says rule the straight underarm seam between underarm points. That's the underarm point here, and the hip point. So this is our hip point. Okay, so we are ruling now our straight underarm seam. All right, for the front. Okay, that's our straight underarm seam for the front. This is the one for the back. Okay, and then draw the outer shape seam through a point of 1.5 cm at the waist. So this is our waist now. We need to draw an outer waist seam. Remember, we did 2 cm at the back, but at the front, we're required to do just 1.5 cm. So this is my 1.5 cm marking. I'm drawing my outer waist seam now for the front. Okay. So, and I told you, remember when we're doing this, that you come up, is a guide, 8 centimeters is just a guide. Okay. 8 centimeters. You can determine your own, but I think this works a lot. It works very well to avoid pointy edge. Okay, and look at it there. It works well to avoid any pointy edge, and it helps you to put them both on the same line. Just having that guide of 8 centimeters, you can see both of them fall on the same line, right? So, and then from the front as well, we're going to be drawing that. So for the front, sorry, not from the top, from there to the hip. So just bring it down this way. All right, because we don't want to go into the top yet. And I'll show you why it's like that. Can you see? It didn't start from the underarm point. They came down a little bit from the underarm point. Now, this is where I get people get confused here. They say, oh, the curve is placed in a different direction. The curve is placed in this way. So it's the way you go about it. You first place the curve like that, and then you turn it again and connect it. Sorry, you first place the curve like this, sorry. Then you turn it again and connect it, but I find that confusing. So whatever you're doing, just keep the curve in one direction and just curve it like that. It's fine, really, because people find the other movement confusing and they get confused on how to connect their curve, how to place their curve. So just keep it simple and do this. Basically, you're trying to find your waist and then the hip. And this is what you've done. So just keep it simple and keep your curve the way I've done here. Don't mind the way it looks in this drawing. I know people may want to match it here, but it's a little bit complicated for you to understand, right? So just keep it straight. Yeah, you can achieve that, but if for the beginners, just do something simple as this. So roll the straight underarm seam, and we've brought in the waist at 1.5 cm on the waistline. We've done that. Now draw a lower waistline which follows more closely the waistline of the figure, dipping it little towards the front. Mark 0.5 cm below the waist point on the side seam, both on the back and on the front, and 1 cm plus centimeters below the waist of the center front. So now let's take it again. Draw a lower waistline which follows closely to the waistline of the figure, dipping it a little towards the front. Mark 0.5 below the waist point on the side seam, both on the front, on the back, and on the front. So now here we're instructed to mark 0.5. Now, if I read this further, I will come back again. If I read this further, it said in larger sizes, 1 cm below the waist point and 2 to 2.5 cm on the center front. So this is a larger size. Remember, I told you it's above bust 92. So instead of using 0.5 cm here, we'll be coming down here at 1 cm. So at our new waist point, sorry now, 1 cm, a new waist point. How did I know that? See, it was after they drew the waist point. That's when, and look at the marking, is coming on the waist point, not on this line anymore. So with the new waistline, you come down, that's our new waist point now. You come down 1.5 cm here, okay, on the waist point at the back, at the side, and then you do the same thing. This is the front, sorry, side front, and then you do the same. Sorry, 1 cm. 1 cm. I'm so sorry about that. Not 1.5. 1 cm. You come down 1 cm here. Let me use a complete measurement. I'm not sure of the one above. So you come down 1 cm here. This is 1 cm. And then you come down 1 cm here. Sorry, 1 cm. Okay, 1 cm on our new waistline. Then it says here, that's what I'm saying, the front, you need to pay a lot of attention. Then it says, and 2 to 2.5 cm on the center front. So these are center front. No, we dropped it 1 cm here on the side, but at the center front, we're going to be using 2.5 cm because it's a larger size, really. 2.5 cm. You can do 2, you can do 2.5. So in this case, let's do 2 cm, 2 cm. Consider 2 or 2.5 cm. So we'll be doing 2 cm because this is bust 102. It's not as bad. It's not as bulgy as bust. It's not a very big bust. So when we have the very big bust, we can drop it. And there are further explanation to this. This is not just set in stone like, oh, this is only how you must do it. No, you can increase this parameters. You can increase, instead of having 1 cm, you can change to 1.5 cm here. You can bring this out up to 4 cm. But there are conditions that allows you to do those things. So, but here I cannot be giving every details. To have every detail, you can, if you're in Canada, you can contact me and enroll for my class. And if you are not in Canada and you want to have a one-on-one online, you can always contact me and we can make that happen. But basically, like, you're not restricted between the measurement given here. You're not restricted to have the maximum of 2.5 cm. No, you can do more than 2.5 cm, but there are conditions that allows you to do that. Okay, this is not in the book. It comes from experience. Okay, so draw the final waistline through this point, starting from the usual center. So that's starting from the usual center line, center back length. Okay, so it says draw the final waistline through these points. So we're going to be drawing the final waistline starting from the usual center back length as drafted. It is easier to do this after planning. Okay, so we want to draw the final straight line. We are starting from the usual center back line. So but basically, this is what we're doing, right? But in this case, I will leave this point and we'll come back to it. I will leave this point and we'll come back to it, okay? Because there are other things that need to come in place for us to do this. But actually, let's just draw it. So in this case now, this is center back line. Whatever you are drawing here at the center back, you can't have a straight line here. It must go kneel back into the initial waistline. So we're taking this up and we're just making it a broken line into the center back line. So that's our new waistline at the back. Then at the front too, we are drawing this. Like, but with this, I will tell you something that I usually correct this line after the dart. So I'll still use a broken line, but I'll correct it because I realize that drawing it straight like this really makes your pattern looks funny when you finish, when you're cutting and sewing. So I'm using a broken line here. I'm coming back to correct, especially the front. The back is fine, but I'll come and correct the front. And you'll see why when I'm drawing the dart at the front. Then we correct this point. Okay, like this is what the book instructs. But from experience, I've realized that this doesn't work well. And I'll show you what really works better. Okay, on this point, at this point, okay? So, but the back is fine. We just draft our dart now at the back. But at the front, there's a little correction that will be made on this line. So then, okay, it says it is easier to do this after planning the waist dart, which should come down to this lower level with both sides matching in length. So we'll do this. We'll come back to this to correct this after the waist dart. But let's just have this line here. But like I said, there is another correction I'll make here that you would see why I think is necessary to come back and do this because it's different. Then draw the true bust line 4 cm below the bust line. Now, remember we've been calling this our bust line. It's actually our depth of armhole. Our bust, the true bust line is what we're drawing now. It's called a true bust line because this one is just a planning line for our armhole. This is now our bust line we're drawing. So it says draw a true bust line 4 cm below the bust line. So true bust line now. 4 centimeters below. So these are 4 centimeters below. And then I'll come here again, 4 centimeters below this line, because these two lines will match, need to touch each other. So we're drawing a true bust line, okay? I connect these points together now. This is now our bust line. This is our depth of armhole. It's in our bust line, but this is now called the true bust line. What this means is this is actually where your bust is, okay? This is where your nipple area this is around your nipple area. This is actually where your bust sits at the front. This one is to help with the planning of the armhole. That's why it's called depth of armhole, okay? And then bust line too. But this is an actual bust line we'll be working with. It is sufficient to show it on the front only, okay? It's fine. That's why we're showing it on the front only. For further details, see section 3. So it's sufficient to show it here for only. But again, sometimes I take it across the back, okay? Sometimes I just roll it across the back, depending on the style. Like if you're doing a corset, you actually need the line across the back. But that's another detail which we will not be talking about here now. Okay, to obtain a final shoulder, close and pin out the shoulder dart, bringing the two lines together and leaving the darts underneath folded back towards the neckline. So now we are finishing up our shoulder. To finish up this shoulder, we have to follow this instruction. It says we should come back again so that I will bring the book again. It says to obtain the final shoulder, close and pin out the shoulder darts, bringing the two lines together and leaving the dart underneath, folded back towards the neckline. So we are bringing the lines together. Which lines are we bringing together? This line and this line are the shoulder lines that we are bringing together. This is not our shoulder line. Okay, this is our construction line to guide us towards constructing the dart. So this is our dart line. Sorry, the inner dart line, the outer dart line. This is a construction line. It's not part of the dart. This is our dart line. Outer dart, inner dart. Sorry, outer dart. So we're going to bringing these two lines together, okay, to complete our shoulder. So how do you do that? Just watch. I have to turn the paper around. Watch this. I'm actually just making sure I have the line, okay? Can you see? I'm holding it up, right? And then I make sure they touch with the dart folding backwards. This is the dart. This is the dart folding backwards towards the neck point, okay? Towards the neckline. Sorry, not neck point. This is the dart folding backwards towards the neckline. So basically, let's fold this properly. So we come again. We make sure this comes down. Can you see? You hold your paper. You make sure this comes down to a point. Can you see the point? And then this would help you to fold this nicely. So you see the paper is now relaxed now because we have our points there. These are bust point. This is the nipple area. So can you see now? So so we are now finishing our shoulder line. So we have folded it as instructed, right? So 1 second, I just need to get my tracing wheel. Okay, tracing wheel. This is my tracing wheel. It says now that two lines together, leaving that underneath, folded towards the front neckline. Then rule a straight line from NP to SP. So this is our NP. Just watch. I'm going to keep the paper like this so that we can see it clearly. Rule a straight line from NP to SP. So we're ruling a straight line from NP to SP. Okay, that's number one. Then it went further to say, and cut on it through. Then rule a straight line from NP to SP, which we've done, and cut on it through the folded dart. So now, cut on it through the folded dart. You're using your tracing wheel to do that. So we are tracing it down. Okay, can you see? Actually put something underneath, okay, before doing that. Put something underneath. So cut through on it through the folded dart. We've done that through the folded dart. When the dart is unpinned, again, the shoulder seam line will have the shape shown in figure 3. See, now when I release this, when I open this up, we would have this shape. We would have this shape. So I'll just open it now. Can you see? We have the shape. So I'll rule it out so you can see it. Because it says cut through on it. It just basically just trace through it. Trace through it so you can have this point, this line. Can you see? Yep. Can you see this line? So we have done this now. Sorry, no, I'm just reserve a call. Then the other point is, right? We've done all this. Then the dart is on the pin again. You see that in figure 3. That's why with a point above the middle of the shoulder dart. So this is now a point above the middle of the shoulder dart. Okay. And then for the back shoulder dart, see, we're going to go back to the back shoulder dart. We're going to finish it. So finally, before cutting out the pattern, check the armhole measuring first round the back and then round the front of it with the tape held on the edge. This makes it easier to follow the armhole curve and gives it. So we're going to just, let me do this first. We're going to find the midpoint of this shoulder. Not that it's actually very important, but it's just good for completeness sake. And then, so the next point now is to measure around the armhole like that. So we measure around this armhole, holding the tape up. So, because remember we have approximated armhole of 47 centimeters. So holding the tape up like this, I'm sorry I can't show you this part. You cannot see the number easily, so that it can be easier for me. But basically, just follow this concept and then you would get you will be able to measure your armhole. Just see, holding the tape up. I'm following the curve. So here we have 23 centimeters. 23 centimeters here. And then we do the same thing at the back. So hopefully you will see it at the back now. So see that this is the back. Holding the tape up, but I'll just do this now so that you can see. Because I want you to be able to relate to what I'm doing. So we are following the curve, okay? We are following this armhole curve. This is 24 point, approximately 24.5. So we have 47.5 really. So I'll just do this again, flat like that, and let's see. Okay, 24. So 24. So 24.5 plus 24, we have 48.5. So our approximated armhole is 47 minus 47.0. The difference is 1.5 cm. So basically, I'll just read this now, right? So just to round it up, it says, finally, before cutting out the pattern, check the armhole, measuring first around the back, then around the front part of it, and the tape held on the edge. This makes it easier to follow through. The total armhole should be 12 to 13 centimeters more than the top arm measurement. Top arm measurement is a different thing. We'll come back. Top arm measurement, when I'm showing you how to take measurement of your sleeve, I'll show you the top arm measurement. So basically, they're saying whatever you have measured should be more than 12 to 13 centimeters more than the top arm measurement. I'll just finish up to this point. So correct if necessary to leave it to be corrected at the fitting. Now, 0.5 cm mistake can be disregarded. So we have not measured our top arm, so it's difficult to really analyze this part. But when we do our top arm, we'll come back here. To increase or decrease the armhole size, the most usual way, though not necessarily best, is to lower the upper arm, the underarm point a little less than the increase or decrease required. So this will be explained later on. What they're saying is, for example, if your armhole, if the difference between your armhole and your top arm is more than 30 centimeters, you need to make some adjustments. But we'll come back to do this at a later date. So again, this is the second part of drafting the front. Okay, so there'll be a third video coming out, which will be contouring this pattern now, and that will be the putting the darts and everything, because you can see the front is really detailed, and I don't want the video to be too long. That's why I'm stopping here now. So we'll be having a third part to the front, and that will include the darts and the final shaping of this pattern. So this is very, very, very detailed. So I will encourage you to practice and practice and practice with this, and trust me, you'll be the best after you've done this. Okay, thank you so much. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, share, comment, and follow as well. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.